Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Story. I am Daniel Parker, and I am the writer and creator of a little comic book called Angels Awakening, which is currently in demand on Indiegogo, fully funded. So.
Woot.
Yeah, yeah. So you still have time to get this book if you get this book. Link is in the description below, and it'll probably fingers crossed. I'll be able to get this book out to everybody in the next within the next 2 months or in 2 months. So, all right, and joining me as always is my partner in crime, the man who's down at my bottom right now. And now he's to my right, to my whatever that direction is, my other left.
Stage left, I think.
Stage left, yes.
Although that doesn't have quite as much meaning online. But anyways, this is Darth Bobcat, also known as D. Benjamin Fassbinder, or just DB for short, author and creator of the Confessions of the MAGPIE Wizard books, and also Second Contact at Checkpoint Alpha story.
Yeah. Both of those books are on Amazon, and links to them are in the description below. And if you're new and you haven't seen this before, what DB and I are saying is,
buy my book! Buy my book! Buy my book!
Yeah.
That might be one of the best cartoon characters in small doses ever made.
Yes. Hey, Serena, good to see you.
Hey, Rena.
So for today's video, we're going to be focusing on creating a memorable or at least memorable protagonist. Not necessarily hero, but just the main character of your story. They can be a hero. They could be an anti-hero. They can be a villain. Could be whatever you want them to be, as long as people know who they are and will remember them, for years to come.
Yep. You want to avoid the light novel trap where every single character is Kirito.
Mm-hmm.
Because no one's going to remember him. Actually, they'll probably remember Kirito because he was Kirito first before all the copycats, but still,
Yeah.
So, and by the way, I just want to mention that with these, we're not really working off a syllabus. It's just kind of whatever seems fun to talk about at the time. I will say that if you do want more of a structured syllabus, Wes over at Thinking Critical does a Sunday show that I can strongly recommend that focuses on comic book writing. This is, and we're not really setting ourselves up as authorities here. This is more, I've got a few books under my belt. Daniel's got his comic book funded, thus earning more money than I've earned in the entire multi years of writing books and Patreon. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Books are a loser business, apparently.
Yeah.
Comics are where it's at. Anyway, but whatever media you're trying to write, we have experience, we have thoughts, we have opinions. We're not claiming to be the definitive word on anything. And if something we says works for you, great. If it doesn't work, crumple it up, toss it over your shoulder.
Yes. Yeah. So to start off, you have to figure out what exactly you want your protagonist to be. So, is your protagonist the hero? Is he or she? Are they a anti-hero? Are they a villain? How do you want them to? How are you going to portray them in the story? And how are they going to? How do they influence the story? And how do they keep the story moving forward?
Right. Now the line between hero and anti-hero can be a little bit blurry, but found a handy little website here that I looked at a few before the show tonight that I thought had a good take on it. And
let me pull it up here.
And some of the basics, and they just have some good ideas on this. So the hero is an idealist, an anti-hero is a realist. A hero has a conventional moral code, an anti-hero has a moral code that is quirky and individual. A hero is always proactive and striving, an anti-hero can be passive.
Yeah.
And a hero is a modern version of a knight in shining armor. An anti-hero can be a tarnished knight and sometimes a criminal. So that you have to decide early on,
Yeah.
how do you want the audience to see your character?
Yeah. Do you want them to? Yeah. Do you want your character to be like Superman, or do you want him to be like Batman?
Mm-hmm. And now some people say that the Superman option is boring. I would say people who say that haven't read much Superman,
Right.
because you can tell an interesting story about a morally incorruptible character. It's harder
Mm-hmm.
because moral corruption is, well, that's what everybody lives with, so it's extremely relatable.
Yeah. Very, very true. Yeah, and it just what you were saying, like, people haven't read very many Superman stories. They obviously haven't read All Star Superman.
Right. So
Yeah.
so I would say that don't necessarily dismiss the idea of a hero as being outdated, because there is a definite place in this world for stories about a main character who is very proactive, always tries to do the right thing, and they can fail. And you can still be a hero and fail on occasion. You can still be a hero and do the wrong thing on occasion. But the objective is that, when presented with the facts and the power to do the right thing, they should do the right thing.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
And it's also useful to go, you can have a protagonist villain and an antagonist hero, depending on the thing. So just hypothetically, if there was a comic book written from the Joker's perspective, he would, which I'm sure they're out there, I haven't read any myself, that are just 100% from the Joker's perspective. Batman, Joker, it's just Joker from start to finish, killing people at random, gassing children, feeding poison Joker fish to old ladies. Then that mean old, and it is presented as entirely normal, and then Batman has to show up and spoil it.
Yeah. Or obviously, sorry to stick with the DC superhero thing, but or you have a comic book where Lex Luthor is the protagonist of the story, and you get everything from his point of view and how he views Superman, and and he's trying to do something, and then Superman comes in and ruins it.
There is actually a comic book that I've seen described, that I haven't read myself. I think it's called I, Luthor, where the premise is that Luthor is like the biggest man in Metropolis, and then Superman swoops in and takes all the admiration away, and he just fears him for being this alien thing that he can't overcome.
I'll give you another example. Wicked, the musical play. I don't know.
I actually have seen it.
You have seen it? Okay, yeah. With yeah.
Why are we 15 years out and still no movie? I don't get that.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah. So kind of want to go through some of these. This one's kind of interesting. Well, I guess we already kind of covered that one already. But heroes motivated to overcome flaws and fears and to reach a higher level. And then anti-hero, while possibly motivated by love or compassion at times, is most often propelled by self-interest.
Yep, and that's a key difference. It's kind of like it's like how Superman's goal might be. Actually, I'll use some of my characters in my Magpie Wizard books. The narrator Soren, he is such an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
Just like there are characters where you can argue, well, does Spider-Man always is Spider-Man always proactive and striving? Because sometimes things just kind of happen to him, or does Batman always do the right thing? But with Soren, it's like, man, he is so 100% motivated by his own self-interest to the point where he completely keeps destroying everything, like he keeps building up.
Mm-hmm.
So like I almost wondered, oh, will this be a hard question? No,
No.
not even a little bit.
Yeah. And I guess, in with Angel's Awakening, you can make the argument that Jessica is a sort of anti-hero because her motivations are really just that she's just trying to get by in life any way that she can. And even if that means, being a spy and having to go off on a dangerous mission. But at the same time, she does have a moral compass, and she does have a very protective side to her. So you could kind of say she's somewhere in between those two.
Would you say that in the larger series over time that she trends more heroic, or just kind of stays at the same sort of getting by to survive level?
I would say definitely trends more towards heroic.
Yep, and that's the thing, is an anti-hero can become a hero or vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just me. This is just me going off the summary I saw. This is not actually a spoiler. This is me fanficking here for a second about Angel's Awakening. Like I know that part of that story, I believe, is her trying to save a child from danger at some point. Or like she's trying to save a kidnapping victim, or
She's recovering a body on cryogenic stasis.
that. Oh, where did I get the idea there's a baby? Okay, let's pretend that there was a baby.
Okay.
Actually, like she's a mercenary who's saving a baby.
Okay.
And I just realized I'm describing the Mandalorian, but
Yeah.
and she bonds with that thing she was there to save, and over time that love makes her more heroic. That's a good example of like that type of transition. Or Han Solo, he shows up and he just wants the money to take Han and Obi-Wan from point A to point B.
Right.
And by the third movie, he's leading rebel assaults on Endor.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you can also have totally broken characters like, say, man, in the Marvel comics, they have broken down Daredevil so many times.
Yeah. And you could, well, and Iron Man too.
Oh yeah, he was always kind of flawed, but it's like suddenly you give him alcoholism and boom,
Yeah.
that just dominates his destiny forever afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is that there's a difference between a hero and a protagonist, again, because if even in a story where it was from the Joker's perspective as he was going about his day in Gotham, presented it from his point of view, he would still be a villain. He would just be a villain protagonist.
Right. And another, or actually, I'll give two examples, kind of along the same lines. But Tony Soprano, Walter White.
Yep, both awful men who do awful things, but because it's framed from their perspective, you're made to care. And I remember this one Richard Meyer video where he was talking about how he hated the cast of The Sopranos, and it's like his idea was that the last episode, when they're in that bar or restaurant or whatever,
Yeah.
that the last thing you see is Frank Castle with the Punisher shirt walking out of a van and into that restaurant. Like it was always a stealth Punisher show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Walter White in another setting would just be, he would be that drug dealer who, I don't know, Batman had to bring in.
Yeah.
And so it's like and none of these are, we're not saying, man, Walter White is an awful protagonist.
Yeah.
because you can be morally awful but amazing to read or watch.
Right. I'm gonna put the link to this in the chat. So if so anybody want to take a look at that, you can. So it's a interesting little article here. Obviously, gives you a lot to look at. Again, obviously not. What we're saying here is not a guideline, but or not a definitive. Um, it must be like this. It's just something to give you some ideas to work with.
Yep. And of all the things, I looked up a few sites. It was interesting because some sites were so obviously pro anti-hero that it was so biased that it's like, oh man, the hero is always does the right thing, but the anti-hero is so much more interesting. Nope, sorry, you are no longer usefully descriptive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because both have their place. Now, I would say that a comic book is a great place for a traditional hero, just because if you're like, I write usually in a first person perspective where you're getting every single thought of the main character. I have to imagine that a first person story about Superman might get kind of boring. Just because
Yeah.
his inner monologue would be so pure.
Yeah.
Unless Darkseid came around, then it would just be angry. But
yeah. But well, yeah. I mean, he's called the Big Blue Boy Scout for a reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
But seeing him do his actions, seeing him seeing the occasional thought balloon from him, that's probably why comic books became a natural medium for straight up heroes.
Yeah.
So, and also you have to understand what you're writing. Because like one thing I've noticed with a lot of, I'm going to call them writer narcissists, is the tendency to assume that because the main character is doing something, that must mean that it's good.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's not always the case.
Have you ever read the comic book series? Oh, Rena, what was that comic book series with the Dungeons and Dragons group? The Rat Queens. That was it.
Right. Okay. No, I haven't read that.
So, in quick summary, Rat Queens is about it's basically the D&D adventures of a group of 30-year-old wine-aunts with an overly permissive DM turned into a comic book. That's the best way I can think of to summarize it. Like some of the characters are kind of cool, but most of them are just kind of they're awful people.
Uh-huh.
Now it's presented as comedic, but the trouble is that they don't really ever suffer for the bad things they do. Like, and I'm just going to go and spoil the first volume here, which is the only one I've read. So, hey, if you don't want to hear this, sorry, but so the first volume, there's kind of a running gag where they keep damaging the shop. It's like you have this poor woman who's just trying to run her. I think it's either an antique shop or a grocery store or something like that, and the Rat Queens keep accidentally or intentionally destroying her windows or her property or things like that. And the whole book, there's like this mysterious assassin who's who's hired the Assassins Guild to wipe them out. And it turns out that assassin is that shopkeeper. And when I got to that point of it, I was like, oh, okay. I mean, the one woman is in love with, or is in a weird Batman Catwoman relationship, but if Batman ever refused to bring her in with the town guard, so no one ever actually comes out to punish her, and it's always just a slap on the wrist whenever she gets in trouble, and this woman's livelihood keeps being destroyed. I actually found myself sympathizing with the shopkeep. Which is why I will not be purchasing Volume 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Like if you're writing an anti-hero, make sure that what they do is justified. Like, I'm sure you've watched a classic Bugs Bunny cartoon.
Oh yes.
So I remember that Chuck Jones, in an interview I saw on Cartoon Network back when they showed cool interviews with people, basically said that like the strategy was always basically Bugs could never be the one to initiate things. Somebody had to come out of the blue to try to kill him and turn him into a Hassenpfeffer, or he's playing his trombone and the opera guy comes in and smashes it to bits, or Daffy tries to convince Elmer that it's rabbit season.
Right.
So like the Bugs Bunny rule is actually a good one if you want to do an anti-hero, because as long as they don't initiate it and as long as they aren't the one to escalate things too high, you can justify a lot of stuff in a narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, in the case of Bugs Bunny, have him, come out dressed up like Leopold. Leopold.
Yeah. There's a whole generation of people out there who think that welcome to my shop. Let me do the mop daintily. I think that's like actual words to it. But
yeah.
no YouTube algorithm. We aren't playing that song.
No. We're not singing. We're not doing the Barber of Seville.
Which I'm pretty sure is public domain anyway. But
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah. So and kind of be aware of when you've reached that moral horizon, event horizon. There's also a point where the character kind of ends. There are things that can just end a character, and that should just be where you stop. Like, I don't know, if Batman ever intentionally killed somebody who didn't deserve it, then it's like, okay, character's over.
Yeah.
It's a tragic fall of a hero. He became what he always fought. Time for a new comic book franchise.
Yeah. So don't ever have Batman intentionally kill.
Yep. Unless it's Darkseid, maybe that would be okay.
Yeah, you hear me, hard-boiled? Oh, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Hey now. All of those bullets that Batman fired from his bat tank in Batman v Superman, and all those explosions, they were set to stun. It's okay.
Yes. They survived. They survived. A wizard did it.
Well, like they said in the second Aladdin movie, you'd be surprised what you can live through.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that's a good summary of just kind of be aware of what you're writing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So now that we've got all the hero, anti-hero, villain stuff we've gone through all of that. So now with your character, it's time to actually make them a character. So that includes giving them a personality.
Yep.
Yeah. An identity, basically. Yeah.
Right. Because choosing whether you're writing a hero or an anti-hero is a very good starting point for that, because that'll define a lot of their perspective. So for example, my character Soren, he is explicitly selfish, horny all the time, doesn't care about anybody around him in any way. He gets better over time, but still just so that immediately just tells me a bunch of things about him and how he would approach a situation. Meanwhile, there's a character in the book named Hero, Hiro, who is very heroic, Hero. Yes, this pun was intentional. Who is just the way I think of him often is he's like, until he gets angry or pushed into a corner, he's kind of like a golden retriever, just very happy all the time, wants to put on a brave face for everybody, tries to do the right thing, very protective of his friends, knows what the right thing to do is usually.
Yeah.
and just starting from that point can help too.
Yeah, yeah, and also too, if you've got their backstory already, which if you go back and watch one of our other live streams, you can find out how to do that. If you got their backstory, that can also help with their personality as well. So, we talked about this before, but if they're from a region, you can give them a dialect or give them a way of speaking that will make them distinct. If they're from the South, give them a nice Southern twang. If they're British, give them a British accent, and maybe throw in a few British sayings and phrases here and there, and that sort of thing.
Yep, and even outside of regional dialects, if you pay attention to people, they tend to use, like, we all know the words perhaps, sort of, maybe, kinda. Characters will often tend to default to one of those.
Right.
It's like somebody says perhaps a lot, it makes them sound kind of thoughtful and maybe more sophisticated. If they say sorta, SORTA, that kind of makes them sound less refined. It's funny how, like, perhaps and sorta can mean very similar things, but one sounds better than the other if you're trying to convince somebody of something.
Yeah.
It's
it's also a little more perhaps is a little more intellectual than sort of.
Right. It perhaps implies that you're really thinking about it. Sorta sounds like you're giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Which itself can say a lot about a character.
Yeah. Another one too is if they start by saying well, well means they're trying to think of what they're trying to say. That was a technique Ronald Reagan used.
Oh, is that what he was doing? Okay.
Mm-hmm. JFK, he would say, "Well, let me just say this about that." That's what he was doing there. Yep.
Right. Everybody has filler phrases, and it makes them sound different.
Right. And usually the filler phrases they're not really saying anything. They're just trying to think of what it is they're going to say, and they're just filling up any they're filling up dead air with chatter words.
Yep. Now, you don't want to do that too much, especially if you're doing a comic book, because I'm writing ebooks mostly with a side business of physical books on the side. So, my file could be as long as I want it to be on Amazon.
Yeah.
But if you're doing a 22-page comic, you want to economize your space a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, you don't, the last thing you want is the last thing you want is a comic book full of word bubbles.
We call this the Bendis.
Yes. Because Bendis.
There is literally a page I've seen on the first page of Superman where it's a splash page of Superman sitting heroically with his hands on his hips, and it was so full of dialogue that you could not see most of Superman.
Yeah,
like you could see his arms and part of his face, but not part of his head, but not his. It's like the dialogue just went all the way down the middle of the page, and I was just like, "Why would you do that? Why did you make the artist draw that? I hope you told the artist in advance what you were going to do with the word balloons, so he didn't put a lot of effort into that page."
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now, if I did that on Angel's Awakening, Bogdan would chew my ass out. I spent all this time working on this page, and you fill it up with all that word shit.
Right, don't make the Romanians angry at you. They'll suck your blood and impale you on a pole.
Jeez.
Maybe not in that. Maybe in the other order too.
Well, just don't piss your artist off in general. Yeah, if you're a comic book creator, just don't piss your artist off. You want to keep your artist happy.
Yeah. But there's a reason that catchphrases work. Like Urkel's "Did I do that?" Bart going, "Eat my shorts." Just little things like that. It's funny how people like those little patterns because it's like, hey, I recognize that.
Hmm.
He said the thing.
He said the thing. Make it so.
Yes, make
Mhm.
it so. Live long,
Engage. Yeah.
live long and prosper.
Yeah.
The trouble is that you can end up having, it would be awful dialogue if every time that Picard was talking to somebody, Picard, is it gonna have the soup or the salad? Make it so. No, you have to make a choice. Number one,
Number one.
like you could. Like, there are some characters who have so many catchphrases that you could just string them together into passable dialogue, but you don't want to do that because then it gets boring.
Yeah.
So they're like spices. You don't want to eat a soup that's half salt.
Exactly. Yeah, and and also too, when it comes to a character's personality, like we've talked about, the Mary Sue phenomenon, and
Hmm.
like with Rey and Star Wars and all that, characters like that, or Captain Marvel, and they the of course the main issue with those two characters in particular is that they're just very, very two-dimensional, very boring. Especially Captain Marvel, like she has like zero personality at all. Like,
Yeah, like Ray is elevated by the fact that Daisy Ridley is good at acting emotive.
hmm
Um, Captain Marvel didn't quite luck out into that, but I don't think there would have been an opportunity. And this kind of goes back to that whole narcissist writer things, because like if you break down Captain Marvel as a movie, she does a lot of heinous stuff that she really isn't called on. Like she killed a whole lot of Skrulls who turned out to be innocent people,
hmm
and the Skrulls didn't seem to be too upset about that.
yeah, yeah, and it's just, oh god, that movie was just, it's been a while since I've watched that movie, so
I
there's a lot about it I forgot.
I remember it decently because I saw it a year after it came out on Disney Plus with my dad because
hmm
he really wanted to watch. I was like, okay,
Uh,
I've been trying to avoid it, but for you,
yeah,
it will make you happy.
yeah.
But that's the and that's is what it comes down to is that that's actually like an excellent example of of mixing up. They wanted to treat Captain Marvel like she was a hero, but she is at best an anti-hero.
hmm
Like a character who is a hard fighting space warrior who is part of the genocide of a race and then realizes that the race she was genociding was actually decent people who just were trying to escape. Like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There should be more conflict in this movie.
Yeah. Well, and then you add to the fact that she has amnesia and she
Oh,
doesn't remember anything about her life before, you know, whenever, like, what was the late 80s or whatever it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like and you had a perfectly good story there that an anti-hero would have been a perfect slot into, but nope, had to just be treated like she was straight up heroic. Never mind that she did some awful things, or at least things that a normal person would feel some sort of guilt over.
All right. Yeah. And then you contrast that to, and I'll stick to superheroes, but with,
Superheroes are great examples for this type of thing because they tend to be more um, purely heroic than a lot of other mediums.
yeah, right. Well, and I say like a purely heroic, and then just throw in a female superhero, but one with Wonder Woman, and we'll stick with the first Wonder Woman, not Wonder Woman
Yeah,
1984.
that movie was a fever dream that ruined my week when I watched it.
Yeah,
I'm happy to ignore it.
yeah. But the first Wonder Woman movie, I mean, she's, you talk about a, pure-hearted character. I mean, this, she wanted to do the right thing. She's,
She wanted
very
she wanted to end war.
right. She wanted to end war. she had she's obviously very maternal. She had some maternal instincts because she sees a baby and she's like, "Oh, baby," and made every man in the theater go, "Oh my God, I want to marry her."
Looking like Gal Gadot does not hurt. Gal Gadot. I
Gal
always
Gadot.
want to. I always want to go Gadot because of Waiting for Godot, but I guess it's a
Right.
different.
Yeah, but yeah, and she charges into battle and she's brave and all that, and people really fell in love with the character, and of course
Mhm.
it's so it's but she had that personality that people could get behind.
hmm
Yeah.
And also, that movie is a great example of she was actually mistaken about Ares being the source of the war. Like Ares was prolonging the war and exacerbating the war, but killing Ares didn't end war forever.
All right.
But but so she thought she was doing the absolute right thing the whole time, but then she had to grow and learn some.
Mm-hmm.
Another
Yeah.
nice pure hero, Captain America. Now, we'll stick with the Marvel presentation because many more people have seen that than have read the comics. But in that version of things, like they did a great job of setting him up as a very heroic person. Like a grenade is a seemingly live grenade is thrown at the middle of the group, and he even before he had superpowers, he jumped on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When he was in New York, he wouldn't back down from a fight even though he had no chance whatsoever of winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and and he wanted to, and he was doing everything he possibly could to enlist in the army, even though he was very sickly and very, very skinny and very short.
Yep, no sane army would have let him in.
No.
I don't even think that the Germans in 1945 would have let him in.
No, not especially like April of 45.
Right, when they're at their most desperate and we're enlisting young men and boys old men and boys into the army.
Yeah.
No, you know what? At least that old man can hold his gun steady.
Yeah. Yeah.
At least the boy has small, nimble fingers and can get around quickly.
Yeah. And he's small and can crawl into small spaces.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, enough Black World War II humor.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing there is, and that motivation combined with who they are can just make a big difference. Because a hero in one context could theoretically be an anti-hero in another, kind of just depending on the morals. Like for example, if you actually go back and read some of the Greek legends like Hercules and things like that, you'd go, so this guy just kind of wanders around killing people. But it's like, no, that's what makes him a hero, said the Greeks. He's a great fighter, and he beds all the ladies, and he does these impossible things, and he achieves godhood. Yeah, but did the Minotaur actually? I guess actually no, the Minotaur was a different story. Was the Hydra actually hurting anybody? It probably was, but you know what I mean. Wait, is that Hydra an endangered species? Maybe the Hydra is part of the local ecosystem that is keeping things in check. Maybe you kill the Hydra, next year there are deer starving to death because all the trees are stripped bare. It's like that's like a perspective that would not have occurred to the Greeks at the time.
No. They would have probably laughed you out of the whatever,
The Parthenon, yeah.
The Parthenon, yeah.
And so it's also just kind of hilarious how, if you look back at history, things that were seen as this this great humanitarian act can be seen in retrospect as these awful crimes against humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, say, yeah, like a guy on his deathbed whose family died in a house fire in 1945, gives his whole, because he has no children anymore, gives his whole legacy to have asbestos put into every town or into every building in the state. That never actually happened to the best of my knowledge, but that's like, at the time it would have been philanthropist, such and such, such and such. In the present, it would have been misguided idiot.
Yeah. It gives a bunch of people cancer.
Right. Like, I'm going to donate cigarettes to the army for World War II. Thank you, sir. You're wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
So, and that's also where you want to be aware of your audience, because there are some audiences who would, like, maybe like a smoker who doesn't want to think about what the problems of smoking causes. They would be like, yeah, that's nice of him to give cigarettes to the army. Keep the soldiers happy.
As long as they're not, well, I guess cigarettes would be better than hookers.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know which one would be better.
Oh, the problem is they tended to be used together, but
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Hard to separate them.
Yeah.
So you just kind of want to be aware of, and so it's also the kind of thing of, if you think their audience is mostly, say, Republicans or mostly Democrats, try to stay away from hot button issues that will just serve to annoy them.
Yeah. Yeah, because and that's being apolitical will get you a lot of will earn a lot of goodwill. It will earn you a lot of goodwill with your audience.
Right, because nobody likes being told what to think, which is ironic considering that we were just advocating for it's okay to have a hero who's completely morally righteous in everything. But that's a key. It's a key subtle difference. Is your character can do the right thing. I guess that's kind of like the big thing. Is your hero fighting against an external problem, like I don't know, Superman trying to stop a tornado from hitting the city, or is the hero fighting an internal fight against their own, I don't know, wickedness or their own base instincts?
Yeah. Or you could do an A plot of one and a B plot of the other.
Yep, kind of have them be almost macro heroic on the outside, and on the inside be fighting some sort of horrible foible. Which would put them more into anti-hero, but it also, that could be interesting because, maybe they have, like, we could say Iron Man being an alcoholic. It's a shame that Disney doesn't have a lot of interest in doing interesting things, because we're never going to get Demon in a bottle now.
Yeah. Well, and I would also, my other theory on that is Robert Downey Jr. might have had something to do with that, given his past history of,
That's a good point. Would he be the perfect person to play that, or would you not want to put him through that?
I wouldn't want to put him through that.
I guess it'd be up to him, but
yeah. Well, yeah, it depends on him, but I mean, that's probably why they didn't do it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, but Disney likes to be weirdly squeaky clean in some areas, so it would never even cross their minds now.
That's true. Yeah, it's very interesting where that company's morality, where they draw the line on certain things. It's like, they have no problems making a movie in a certain province in a certain East Asian country where there are a lot of people suffering and
Look, that camp is a wonderful place to go. They're away from their daily life and troubles, and they can concentrate on things. Yes.
Their lives have purpose now. Yeah, when they didn't before.
Ugh.
Well, that's how they spin it. I mean,
Yeah, it's just Sorry,
So yeah,
we're
let's.
getting awfully
We're
political
we're
here.
we're, we're getting we got
We're,
very
we're,
dark very quickly.
we're breaking our own advice here. Yeesh.
Yeah, yeah,
This is why we don't claim to be authorities.
right, exactly. Oh
so,
boy.
so, so basically, there are a lot of ways to personalize your character.
Mhm.
You can. It's based on how they talk, where they're from, what their goals are. There are people who made the case that Thanos was the main character and hero of uh, the first Infinity War
Mhm.
because he was the one driving the plot. He thought that what he was doing was right, and moreover, nobody really seemed to challenge him on it. Like they all were trying to stop him, but you never had Tony saying, "You're insane,"
Yeah. No one challenged his morality. They were just trying to keep him from doing what he was trying to do. And the other part of it too, I think Thanos had the most screen time, didn't he? Of any of the characters in that movie?
Yeah, that would make sense because they did keep. Yeah, they kept cutting to the other characters in bits and spurts, but yeah.
Right. And Thanos, with when all the characters were separated into groups, I mean, he went to every single one of those groups.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
so probably Thanos did have the most overall screen time.
yeah. So I mean, you can certainly make the argument that he was the protagonist of Infinity War. I mean, I would say that's a very you can make a solid argument, solid case for that.
Yep. And if you're somebody who doesn't mind watching half of the world die to curb population, you would argue he is a hero.
Yeah.
But so I think that's it's basically you define whether you're doing a hero or an anti-hero based on your needs of your story. You come up with a personality. We've talked a bit about that before.
Hmm.
But there's another aspect that Uh, and this applies more to if you're doing visual mediums like comic books or movies or things like that. But even if you're just doing a text story, hiring a good artist and getting a distinctive cover can pay huge dividends.
Yes. And if you're a comic book creator,
Like a certain Mr. DP here.
yes, and you have a world class, phenomenally talented artist working for you, or you can get some.
Who has never publicly denied being a vampire.
Well, I'm about 99.9% sure he's not a vampire.
I mean, he's an artist. Maybe he's an artist so he can stay inside all day.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right.
Bogdan, I kid out of love.
Yes, yes. We love you, Bogdan. You're awesome. But anyway, so when you're doing that, you can work on your character designs. So this is the finished character design on Jessica Sawyer that Bogdan did, and and the two of us worked very hard on trying to get it right, trying to get her perfect. And as you can see, lots of cool stuff she's got going on. And by the way, if you want to know about her suit and everything, back Angel's Awakening, because it's in there. But one of the things that I did very early on when I was creating her was I wanted to give her, if you can see it, and the distinctive beauty mark right there on her chin.
Mhm.
I really wanted that was something that it had to be there because I think it made her look, not only it gave her a distinctive look, but it makes her look really sexy at the same time. And obviously you look at the rest of her. I mean, she's obviously very blessed in the chest,
Very fit.
very fit, yeah. And yeah, and so and of course her hair color, eye color is very kind of distinctive as well. You know, you'll sometimes see people with brown hair and blue eyes, but you know, it's not that common.
Yep, and also we were talking about verbal tics can be little signifiers of a character. That beauty mark is almost like a visual shorthand for that,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives an art. Like let's say that Bogdan was busy and you were doing Angel's Awakening 2 and you had to get it out on time. Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't want this to happen. I don't think anybody wants that to happen. I'm just talking hypothetically.
Mm-hmm.
You find another artist. And you know, a lot of artists will draw faces very differently from another artist. Having having like that particular hairstyle and that beauty mark makes it really easy for somebody to recognize her. Okay, so this is, I don't know, this is what's her name? Who's that one artist who's in Micah's Discord? I don't know. We'll just say this is Raina Telgemeier's version of the person who did Smile. That's her version of Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like Raina Telgemeier draws like a kid's slice of life manga through an American lens, but I bet you she could make, if she drew Jessica, you could tell it was Jessica because distinctive hairstyle, distinctive coloration, and that beauty mark.
Mm-hmm.
That's what caricature artist sees on.
Yes, and of course, you got Jessica here. You've also got, let's see, let me do this here. And
another interesting thing while he pulls that up is that people have like a subconscious association of beauty with virtue that really isn't there, because you can be pretty and evil, and you can be ugly and a saint. But in a visual medium, having her look kind of youthful and healthy and everything else just makes people automatically like her, even if they aren't necessarily attracted to women.
Exactly. And that was obviously what I was going for with Jessica. But when you mention, being youthful and good looking, doesn't necessarily make them good. I'll give you an example of someone where that's not the case, where that's, definitely not good. And that's, this is Sky, who is of course, the primary villain, I should say, of Angel's Awakening.
Yep. So just looking at her, I immediately noticed that she has a more pronounced brow ridge, which just kind of makes her look angrier.
Mm-hmm.
Like just kind of a perma scowl.
Yes, and so and of course, like Jessica, she's obviously very blessed in the chest and fit as well. The other thing too is her hair color. So in the universe of Angel's Awakening, all of the elementals, their hair color matches their element. So in Sky's case, she's a water elemental, so she has blue hair.
Yep. And just by having the natural hair color, she immediately looks more distinct because, like blue hair. And also her outfit looks like waves.
Yes.
It's like, I cheated because I have read the campaign page for this with the pre-art. But I could, if you just showed that to somebody and said, "Hey, what's her superpower?" They would go, "Oh, water."
Yeah.
Because you have all these little visual signifiers.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's, obviously she's obviously very beautiful, but she's also very deadly, and she's also not a nice person either.
Yep, and just all like the little visual, like just the structure of her face looks different enough from Jessica. Like Jessica looks kind of inviting and warm.
Mm-hmm. Now we'll contrast that with another one, my final character, and not a whole lot of people have seen her. I've kind of kept her under wraps for the most part. but
Perks of watching the show.
yes, but so you're going to get a early. Well, if you've seen the cover, you've seen her, but here she is. This is Laura Stone, and one of the things. So with her, she is a billionaire tech mogul.
Looks like she's a bit older than the rest.
Early 30s.
Yeah, that's like a 10-year jump from Jessica, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's about right. Yeah, 10 years. Yeah.
Right, and Bogdan did a good job with the facial structure and everything because she kind of looks older.
Yes. Yeah, and as far as her outfit goes, I chose a turtleneck. That's I don't know what you call it. Not really a tribute, but a reference to Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
He didn't fill it out as nice though.
No, he didn't, and he didn't have as nearly as nice legs as Laura's.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like visual signifiers. Black clothing imply it can be like mysterious, if not evil.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of has a power hairstyle. So like I think you could tell just looking at her that she's kind of dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite as evil of an eyebrow ridge as Sky, but not as kind looking as Jessica.
Exactly. Yeah, and she's not in Angel's Awakening that much, but stay tuned, for the next book because she has a much bigger role in that.
Yep. And he also passed the. There's a test that they were talking about on The Simpsons called the silhouette test, where a character that they were making had to be distinct in silhouette, and just with the hair, it's even though you have three women in their 20s to 30s, they have they have somewhat different builds, and the hairstyles keep them distinct.
Yes. Which is what you want when you're creating, when you've got your characters, is you want them to have that distinct. You want to, like Bobcat said, you have to be able to tell who they are just by one glance.
This is why you'll also often have standard outfits for characters, just to help with that recognition.
Exactly.
Like, sure, you could have Homer wearing something besides his polo shirt with the 3 buttons on it, but why would you?
Yeah. Well, if he's at work, he's wearing a tie.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. I mean, that is the only difference between when he goes to work and when he's just lazing around.
Yeah, he wears a tie.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
And so, speaking of accessories, we don't have a lot of time, but we did have a short video that we wanted to share just because it was funny.
Yeah. So, I think I'll show this here. I guess I'll.
So it's the importance of accessories, and we'll talk about that once we have this lovely little clip play.
Yes. All right. Here we go.
二次元メガネ男女はいの語りまではい3、2、1、9メガネってのは本当にめちゃくちゃ多様性があるんですよね。まずメガネをかけてる女の子がメガネを外して美少女だったりとか、逆にメガネをかけてニコニコして待ってる主人公のメガネを奪ってつけてる女子が奪っちゃったぞみたいなかけて、それもすごく可愛いんですよね。あとメガネ男子もね、メガネが怪しげで光ったり逆光したり姿とかもいいですし、もうかっこいいから可愛いもん。そしてギャグまで使いこなせるってのはめちゃめちゃいいんですよ。もうね、シチュエーションでも多様性できるところがめちゃめちゃいいんですよ。多種多様な形とかいるとかも、そのキャラに合ったメガネを着せ替えて楽しむも本当に楽しいです。もうアンダーリムとかね、ちょっと縁が太いやつとかね、本当にもうバイキングのようにめちゃめちゃ楽しめるんですよ、メガネ。ルナさんにかけてみたり、リンとマリンちゃんもガンガンとしてメガネかけてみたりとか、もうホロライブメガネはマジで流行ってほしいし、ホロコミに出すべきだし、ぜひね、公式からみんなにメガネを増やしてほしいと思わないかな。かけたいよね、二人とも。どうですか？かけたいですか？はい、かけたいです。
Fubuki did not take one breath that whole rant. But like little accessories like that can really add personality to a character.
Yes.
And it also helps if you like, you don't necessarily want to give, you can't give everybody a beauty mark, but maybe the character is the one who wears glasses. Maybe the character is the short one. Maybe the character is and maybe the character is I don't know, the muscly one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Miss Rena Fubuki really likes glasses.
Yes.
And also what's nice about having little accessories like that, Jessica can't play with her beauty mark, but if she had glasses, you could symbolize she could take them off, and you've now introduced another weakness for the character where, oh no, she can't read up close without her glasses. So now what?
Yeah, and speaking of glasses, let me see if I can. Yeah, I could bring.
We're tying it together, Rena.
Yeah. So, yeah, just 1 second here.
You can also do like a hat, a jacket, and you can even make the jacket or the hat an important part of the thing. Like, what if you have a cowboy and that was his pa's hat?
So, glasses.
Yep. And so that's a character for my Magpie Wizard books, Mariko. She kind of has 2 trademarks: her glasses and her braided hair, which both kind of give her a big sisterly older vibe. Which is, she actually looks a bit older than she actually is a lot of the time. Also blessed in the chest, but not, that'll vary from artist to artist some.
Yeah.
But so basically, if you have a group of, if you're reading a Magpie Wizard book and you have some art in there, and you see a character with glasses and the braid, it's Mariko.
Yes. And now we'll, of course, another character. Of course, everyone's seen her already.
Yes, Rena. Those are her other 2 calling cards, but that's
yeah.
but any character can be stacked, but not every character can, rock the. And meanwhile, you have Rose here.
Rose.
Yeah, I gave her. She has a trademark where I kind of gave her the Gwen Stacy hairband, and she also has freckles.
Yes, and a very nice booty too.
Yeah, so you can't quite see that. It's clear.
Yeah, you can't see it here, but yeah.
But and also the nice little thing about these accessories is they give you something to act off of. Like if Bogdan was drawing a Magpie Wizard comic, and I was like, I want Rose to look nervous. Rose could take her. You could have Rose taking off her hairband there and just kind of fidgeting with it.
Yeah, and so last but certainly not least, we've got another character that I know Bobcat has shown her off a few times, but a very interesting character when he was talking about her. So this is go ahead.
So this is Kyo. So her overall design document is shy, nerdy game girl. She's kind of interesting in contrast because she's very petite. She's designed to be easy to overlook in a crowd. She also, you can kind of see there that she has dark circles under her eyes because she tends to stay up late gaming. Pale skin because she doesn't get enough sun. So of all the characters, she most kind of shows off how a character design can tell you a lot about a character's habits. Because she isn't, she's very slim. She isn't very muscular. So she has the physique of somebody whose preferred activity is to pull out a Ghost Auto, the version of Nintendo Switch in my universe, and just game on that for 6 hours at a go.
Yeah.
Screaming into Ghost Auto Live.
Yeah. And I will, another thing I really like is her hair does that thing with its on the sides there.
Oh, the bangs or the
Down on the not her bangs, but on her cheeks.
oh yeah, like the little whiskers almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of looks like Diva from Overwatch with like kind of like a hair version of her tattoos.
Yeah.
Um,
And that goes with her gamer,
Yeah.
personality.
Also, her hair is out of control. Where if you go back to Rose and Mariko, Mariko's hair is under very tight control.
Yes.
She puts it in that braid every single morning.
Mm-hmm.
Rose, she lets it kind of hang loose, but she has that hairband to try to keep things out of her eyes.
Right.
Kyo, psht,
Yeah.
self-made. It's like, if I wake up early and spend 10 minutes combing my hair, that's 10 minutes that could have stayed up the night before gaming.
Yeah. Priorities.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we showed off our eye candy for everybody. Hope they liked it.
Yep. And so there's a lot of things you can do, both kind of visually and in terms of writing wise, to make your character stand out. And I guess my last thoughts on this are, first off, of course, this isn't exhaustive. There are so many ways you can make your heroes distinctive, but we just kind of touched on some of the, you want the character to feel organic. Like Rose is a runner. Rose has the body of a runner. If Rose was 400 pounds, you'd start asking, where is she running to? Krispy Kremes?
McDonald's.
Yeah, going to McDonald's and then Krispy Kremes to make Big Macs out of the Krispy Kremes, because she's gotten so bored of the regular food.
Yeah.
But and so it's like all the pieces interlock together to make the character, and you don't have to knock yourself out trying to make the most original thing in the history of originality. Because everything that nothing new under the sun, everything's been done more or less. It's just that you got to make the character feel real. You can have a somewhat derivative or stock character, but it's kind of like Jessica's beauty mark. It's the little things that make the character stand out of a lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would also throw in there too, or to sum it up, make sure that like when you've got their backstory, tie it in somehow to who the character is, and that could be their manner of speech, or how they conduct themselves, or further adds to their identity, and can bring more or bring different perspectives to the story and to the plot.
Oh yeah, and just use my characters there. If you asked Mariko, Kyo, and Rose, hey, we have the afternoon off, what should we do? You're going to get very different answers from them. And you, the viewer, even if you haven't read my book, because you heard my brief description and saw the character designs, you could probably figure out what those were. But if Kyo suddenly said, let's go practice our running for the marathon, you'd go, huh?
Yeah.
Unless the prize for completing the marathon was, I don't know, $1,000 in Switch currency.
Yes. Yeah.
Make the characters feel real.
Yes. And when they feel real, you will become more invested in them, and you will want them to succeed at whatever it is that they're attempting to do.
And it'll be more fun for you to write too.
Exactly.
Because you won't have to go, what would they do? What would they do in this situation?
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for tonight. I want to thank everyone for coming in, especially you, Serena. Thanks for watching us.
Yep.
And So, any last words, Bobcat?
Well, you should go back Angel's Awakening, buy 50 copies,
Yes.
distribute them to your local libraries.
Yes. And I will say, go buy Magpie Wizard books. Buy Second Contact. It's only $1.30. You can get not very many things you can get for that.
Nope.
Yep. All right. Thanks again, everybody. See you next week. Good night.
Good night. And next week we may be doing an Ask Me Anything about a certain person's book having just been finished writing.
Yes. You don't want to miss that. All right. Good night, everybody.
Yep. Good night.